So I'm going to briefly take you through this group that's called Young Americans for Liberty. And the use of the word liberty is, I was listening to one podcast. They used it like 2 times every minute over a 40-minute thing. So they use it close to 80 or 100 times, and it doesn't mean what you think when you think liberty. In fact, it means quite the opposite. So the Young Americans for Liberty, it's a dark money PAC. It's located in Texas, and it brags that it has a foothold on the New Hampshire legislature, and the truth is that it does. Nearly 100 members of the GOP state representatives are listed by YAL as receiving its Hazlitt affiliate support. And, you know, it's all in the open, it's out there, although people just didn't know it was going on. Okay, that foothold includes the 100 people that I talked about, but 7 of the 10 GOP House Education Committee members are listed as being coalition members, and they use its talking points. 5 took YAL money to attend its Orlando conference. Alicia Leaks from Hillsborough wrote on her expense sheet that she went there to learn tactics. And a bunch of others, it just came out, actually forgot to file their forms that they were taking money from YAL. And suddenly they're saying, oh, I didn't know you're supposed to file a form. Anyhow, so the YAL has some support. Mostly the support comes through, they hire students, pay them about $2,300 a month, house them and feed them, and then send them to knock on doors. And they knocked on, I don't know, 20,000 doors, make phone calls, and then the YL also sends a lot of mailers to people. According to its own press release, it's a $13 million organization with a goal to advance school choice in state legislatures. It's chosen New Hampshire as one of its targets because they think the government is weak, and they have all of these, you know, citizen legislators. But other groups spent $1.4 million in the last cycle. This is Koch money, DeVos money, all of the normal characters. And that comes out, if you add it up, it comes out to like $14,000 per their 100 legislators who are making $100 a year. So they're pretty powerful in terms of money. And which begs the question, who's driving the New Hampshire GOP constituents or a dark money PAC in Texas? So it's Texas, remember, it's in Texas and not in New Hampshire. So why the big investment in New Hampshire? So I think you have to go back and start with Ron Paul. He's 88 years old. He's been in politics probably since the 50s, somewhere in there. And he's been an extreme libertarian. He wants to do away with everything. He founded the YAL, and he's its ideological leader. It's an icon. This is whatever he says, basically, they are following. So just keep that in mind. So
Len, can I just interrupt you? Because somebody asked, what is Hazlitt?
Hazlitt is it's really the YAL, but they call it the Hazlitt Group. I think it's a little affiliate, but it's, you know, if you go to their forum, it's the group that reaches out to all the legislators. Now they do this to other states, but they're really concentrating their effort on like 3 or 4 states. And mostly right now, the one they're most proud of and they brag about that they have the most control over is New Hampshire. So it's just the kind of a little affiliate. And I'm not really sure, but it's part of YAL. So when you hear and see Hazlitt, that's who it is. So for Ron Paul, for decades, he's been trying to privatize Social Security, Medicare, get rid of the post offices, get rid of national forests and public schools. And it's documented all over the time in his own speeches. The Washington Post picks out stuff, senior housing, CBS News, on and on. So that's his end goal. We can talk about public schools, but that, in many ways, is the wedge issue. So he put out a book, The School Revolution, and he talks about the tipping point and if you can cut away even a small percentage of students from public schools, the system will fail. And he talks about that with how FedEx and UPS is slowly eating away at the post office, and eventually it'll crumble. And that's kind of the long-term goal for our public schools in his mind. He calls for in his book here, he calls for replacing it with home-based computer learning, which turns out to be a pretty nutty idea, and we found that to be true. It's totally wrong. When our students were not in public schools during the pandemic, they were actually fulfilling his promise, staying home and trying to learn. They couldn't wait to get back into the public schools. And when they did, they were 2 years behind because of the going online and trying to learn at home using his nutty idea. Now, homeschooling has been around for a long time, but the people who are really in homeschooling, see what's going on now, where they're just throwing money at people, they think it's perverted the whole idea of homeschooling. And so again, this is ideological battle using the public schools as a wedge issue. Koch brothers, Betsy DeVos, and other billionaires have wanted to get rid of all of FDR's New Deal policies forever. I mean, this has been a long time fight. So they pump millions of dollars into states they think they can take over. That includes New Hampshire. In fact, as I said before, it's a priority, but it's not really just the Democrats they're going after. In fact, they mostly right now are eating their own. And in Wolfboro last cycle, YAL and similar groups started a successful campaign to unseat moderate Republican Brody Deshays, and they replaced him with an anti-public school, anti-abortion Katie Pertinow. They spent tens of thousands of dollars on that one seat. So again, and the money comes from billionaires. But it's not just here. So this last cycle, election cycle, primary in Texas, the governor there, Abbott, wants to have free vouchers for everybody, no matter what income. So there were 16 they were rural and very conservative Republicans, and they refused to vote for the vouchers because they knew about this tipping point thing and would mean the end of their rural schools. And these schools in these small, rural, very conservative communities are the bedrock of their community. The kids go there, it gives continuity to the place. You know, the sports are big deals. Everything revolves around the schools. But the ideologues don't care about that. So Governor Abbott had them primaried by tapping into another billionaire, Jeff Yass. He's invested early in the Chinese TikTok company and is worth like $26 billion. He's invested $209 million over the years into trying to get rid of public schools. And so Abbott tapped into $6 million of his dollars and to unseat these conservative Republicans in his own state because they won't toe the line exactly like the Republicans want them to. So the headline from Governing Magazine says it all. School voucher proponents spend big to overcome rural resistance. Texas Governor Greg Abbott used money from billionaire out-of-state allies to defeat fellow Republicans in the primaries. So I don't care if you're a Republican or a Democrat or an independent. We've got to come to a point of, are we going to let these, I don't want to say assholes, get away with this or not? So we're at a point, do we allow the billionaires from faraway states to make policy then we all have to live with, or do we fight back? Do we organize and spread the word? Who in New Hampshire wants billionaires to dictate policy, especially when they don't give a hoot about our children? Because that's absolutely nothing about our children's education. What it's about is they want to privatize everything and own everything. And they're doing a good job at that. So think of our towns, no public schools, no post office, where we all congregate, we all gives a place. And for our individual selves, no Social Security, no Medicare, no Obamacare, no county nursing homes, and our national forests owned by billionaires and massive private equity firms that might allow us to come in there or might decide that they're going to drill right next to our house. We can act now or forever suffer the consequences. And again, this is not a Democrat against the Republican battle. This is moderate Republicans, Democrats, and independents who want to join the battle to keep New Hampshire, and not a fiefdom of Texas extremists and billionaires.